In 1971, British composer Andrew Lloyd Webber got married to his first wife, Sarah Hugill. 9 years of marriage later, in 1980, Andrew Lloyd Webber was doing auditions for his magnum opus, Cats. During these auditions, Lloyd Webber met Sarah Brightman, a beautiful soprano 13 years his junior. When Webber decided to cast Brightman in the role of Jemima, the two then began an affair, ending with Lloyd Webber's first divorce in 1983 and his second marriage in 1984. Then, in 1986, Lloyd Webber wrote a musical for Brightman, the Phantom of the Opera. This show is about a creepy, deformed older man who lives in the catacombs of the Paris Opera House and composes their operas, who finds, teaches, and romances a beautiful young soprano with long, curly brown hair. Their marriage is a creepy, weird-looking older man who writes musicals for a living and finds, teaches, and romances a beautiful young soprano with long, curly brown hair. Brightman played Christine in the original West End and Broadway casts. After affairs on both ends of the marriage, the two decided to divorce in 1990. In 1991, Lloyd Webber got married to his third wife and affair partner, Madeline Gurdon, an equestrian and his wife to this day. However, in 1990, after his divorce, Lloyd Webber started writing a new musical that would not see the light of day until 2010. And 20 years later, the musical Love Never Dies is born, a sequel to The Phantom of the Opera, where Christine is married to a deadbeat alcoholic, finds the Phantom, renews their affair, learns that her child is the Phantom's, and then is shot and killed. So Love Never Dies is about his divorce, right? Part 1. His views on women. So I'm not going to sugarcoat it. Some of the stuff this man has said about women, specifically his ex-wife, is not good. For instance, in his memoir, Unmasked, "Gee, I wonder who the Phantom is based off of," he says, "Sarah wore a white miniskirt that elicited whistles from windows of houses that I swore were uninhabited," he writes. "I was somewhat embarrassed, even more so than I had been by the astonishing white fur coat that she had worn on the plane over, which La Boheme aficionados might say was more Musetta than Mimi." Now, I don't think I should have to explain why it is bad to describe an outfit in this manner, but in case I do, catcalling is not good. No matter how seductively a woman is dressed, random men should not be whistling at her, and the implications of the La Boheme reference is also very strange to me, because it's kind of implying that it's better to be a Mimi, more shy and meek, than it is to be a Musetta, who is more confident and seductive. In addition to this, the memoir was written in 2018, over 20 years after his divorce. He wrote this statement about his ex-wife while he was married to his third wife. Later in the book, he says, "But I loved talking music with Sarah. And yes, of course, I loved the vicarious looks I got from the waiters in our deserted hotel. And of course, I loved the sex." The way that this is phrased is so weird to me. He's like talking about music with his wife, which is completely normal. Sure, yes, that's fine, yes. And then he immediately goes to talking about her beauty, but not in a way that's directed towards her. Instead, she talks about the way she was treated by other men as opposed to talking about her and the way she makes him feel. The way that he phrased this implies that he more so likes the envy and the status he got from being with a beautiful woman like her, as opposed to actually being with her. In addition to this, in many articles and interviews, it is implied that the divorce was at least partially due to the pair not having children, saying, "Her career kept her so busy that they decided to wait on having children, and Andrew wanted children with Sarah, but Sarah didn't want any, and still doesn't." Keep this in mind when we're looking at Love Never Dies, because it gets really interesting and really weird when you're thinking about how he wanted children, she did not. Part 2. Love Never Dies. We opened 10 years after the events of the Phantom of the Opera at a freak show on Coney Island called Phantasma owned by the mysterious Mr. Y, a wealthy tycoon who wears a mask over his entire face. And gee willikers, I wonder who that could be. The setting has no real purpose here other than A, making an excuse for the Phantom and Christine to interact again, and B, an excuse for the characters to sing awful songs that would make sense nowhere else. Bathing Beauty. Then we meet Meg Giry, a minor character from Phantom who is now a headlining performer at this freak show. Meg then asks her mother, Madame Giry, if Mr. Y liked her performance tonight because she's in love with him. Gee, I wonder why Andrew would make everyone in love with the mysterious man who definitely isn't the Phantom. Then Madame Giry and Meg learn that Christine is coming to the US, and they're mad because if Christine comes to the US, the Phantom will be obsessed with her again. Now, Christine is a famous singer with a child and a husband. The child is about 10 years old and is named Gustav, which will be very important later. He's also married to Raoul, who is a deadbeat alcoholic, which in my opinion is commentary about Sarah Brightman's new husband. Then, the Phantom comes back and is calling out for his angel of music, which is a line that Lloyd Webber has literally used to describe Sarah Brightman multiple times. Then we learn the 10-year-old child, Gustav, is a musical genius. Wow, that definitely won't be important later. No, survey. Christine then sends Gustav to bed, and the Phantom shows up, and she passes out because, oh my god, the Phantom's back. Then it's Beneath the Moonless Sky. Beneath the Moonless Sky is a painfully long song about how they had some really good sex 10 years ago. If this is being interpreted as being about Andrew Lloyd Webber's divorce, which I am doing, then we should understand why that's a little bit strange. Especially paired with the earlier quotes from his memoir, this whole thing paints Lloyd Webber as having a weird and uncomfortable view of women, specifically Brightman, that is extremely and painfully sexualized. It's not even subtle. You can see it in the lyrics pictured here. And keep in mind, Christine is married at this point in the plot with a child, and their faces are mere inches apart. I'm pretty sure this is one of the songs Lloyd Webber wrote in the 90s. The next song, Once Upon Another Time, is literally just Christine and the Phantom talking about how they regret what happened and they wish they could be together, and it just feels like this musical was a really bad coping mechanism for Webber because I don't think he was over it when he wrote this. Phantom then bribes Christine to come to Phantasma to perform for one night, and he will double the money she's currently being paid. The Phantom then threatens Christine and says that if she doesn't sing for him, he'll kill her and everyone she loves. We're back in Coney Island and watching a rehearsal of Bathing Beauty. Except now Christine and Raoul are here, and Christine and Meg reunite. Christine and Raoul are then told they're working for the Phantom, and Raoul is pissed. And the Phantom basically kidnaps Gustav and takes him to the magical freak show Phantom realm. I don't know, it's really weird and unclear. Nonetheless, the Phantom realizes that the kid is like 9 and they had really good sex 10 years ago, and the kid is a musical genius. Oh my god. The Phantom is Gustav's father, apparently, and then magic, again, weird rock opera sequence. However, the whole plotline with Gustav is really interesting when you remember that a good reason for their divorce was that Brightman did not want to have children. This sort of feels like a form of wish fulfillment for Webber, as the Phantom has a music-loving child with his beautiful, perfect ex-woman. The Phantom refers to hanging out with the child as fulfilling all of his most secret dreams, which post-divorce interviews made not so secret. The Phantom asks Christine, and surprise, surprise, Gustav is his kid. Whoa, no way. The two agree to never tell Gustav, and the Phantom sings another angsty song about how he's still obsessed with Christine. So let's just say it doesn't exactly sound like little Lord Andy was over it at this point. Then we cut to Meg begging Raoul to take Christine and leave, probably because Meg is also obsessed with the Phantom. Gee willikers, I wonder why. Then the Phantom and Raoul have a confrontation. The Phantom and Raoul have a confrontation about how Christine doesn't really love Raoul. Note taken here that Brightman has been remarried for a while at this point. The two make a bet that if Christine sings for him, Raoul will run away and she will be the phantoms, which is a very weird and possessive way of thinking of this. And if she doesn't sing, Raoul's debts will be paid off by the phantom, and he can leave with Christine and Gustav, and they can live a happy life all together. Then it's finally time for the show, which begins with Bathing Beauty. It's an awful song, and it's completely random, and it has no reason to be here. Anyway, Meg learns that the phantom did not watch her performance that night and is very angry about it. Then Raoul asks Christine not to sing and doesn't tell her that he placed a bet. Gee, I wonder why. When Christine says she's going to sing and he can't stop her, Raoul then locks her in her dressing room. The phantom comes into her dressing room to tell her to sing. Then he compels her to come sing and be with him forever. Cute and definitely not possessive. Then Meg kidnaps Gustav because she's mad at Christine. Before Christine goes to sing the title song, Love Never Dies, about how love lasts forever, and when you truly love someone, it'll last forever. Andrew, she's over you. Get over it. After she sings, Christine talks to the phantom about how beautiful and amazing his work is. Andrew, we get it. Then she finds a note on her desk from Raoul saying, hey, I'm leaving you, sorry, and she cries and is all sad. Raoul leaves her, and then Christine and the phantom panic because they forgot, they don't know where Gustav is. He's kidnapped. And then they accuse Madame Giry of kidnapping him when they all realize it was Meg. Then we cut to Meg with Gustav, and she's gonna drown the child. So Christine and Madame Giry and the phantom show up to get Gustav, and Meg threatens to drown Gustav. Then Meg gives the kid back and pulls out a gun and puts it to her head. The phantom then tends to her like a child, very gentle, very kind. Yes, this section has nothing to do with the divorce. It's just so weird, and I need to talk about it because this is such a weird way to end a musical. Then the phantom tells her to be calm, be like Christine. And Meg loses her shit and shoots Christine. Christine dies. So moral of the story, Andrew Lloyd Webber was mad that his ex-wife left him, so he wrote a musical where the stand-in for his ex-wife gets shot and killed. The phantom and Christine share one last duet, a romantic kiss, and that's it. It's over. She's dead. So this is like a very strange musical. It's very weird and it's not good, but I think it's really funny. So yeah, that's it. Welcome to my YouTube channel. Subscribe, hit the like button. Hooray.